Welcome back to another episode of Suits and Takes, episode 73 now of the podcast. My name is Domenico Quincoli. I'm here alongside Anthony Quincoli. Anthony, say what's good. As Peter the Peacock goes down, and it's actually very funny that he goes down because we're actually recording the podcast, one of the very first recorded podcasts, and not even a minute in, and down goes Peter.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pick him up, or are you just gonna leave him on the floor?
I think we're gonna leave him there. I don't think he can sustain too much more damage.
It was a good look though, having the Peacock.
It was a nice look.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll work it here. I'll figure it out. Just keep going.
Just throw a little guy back there. Okay. Anyway, there we go. He's back. There we go.
Hey,
he's gonna fall. You're gonna bring him back up. And he's gonna fall immediately again.
No, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
For now, we're good at least.
We have to represent, the face of New Jersey basketball, and
so it's actually interesting you say that. Okay, well, the face of New Jersey basketball. Interesting you say that. Having a podcast in like over a month. Mm-hmm. Large part was the St. Peter's Peacocks. You were very involved with that. I don't know if you want to share a little personal anecdote about your experience.
Yeah, I ended up making it to the Sweet 16. It was, St. Pete's versus Purdue, probably one of the most exciting sports moments.
Too.
Yeah, I'm saying I personally made it out to the Sweet 16.
I thought maybe you said like we, like as when you're a sports fan, like, oh, we're a united unit, we.
I think honestly, like this is the most like reasonable time to use that kind of phrase. Like if I say the Cowboys, I'm like we. But I went to school here. I feel like the we kind of like is more appropriate. But small school, 3,000 students, St. Peter's, Peacocks are on the map. Elite Eight, one of the best 8 schools in the country in college basketball.
One would say we all have a little Peacock inside of us now.
All of us do. I mean, it's cool to be a Peacock now after years of not being cool to be a Peacock. It's a great time.
It is a great time.
I mean, it was a great time. Now we have, Coach Shaw's no longer there. We have our 7 best players are not returning, most likely. Either hitting the transfer portal. KC declared for the draft. Shout out to him. Stud. 3-time MAC Defensive Player of the Year. Hopefully he gets his flowers. But, we'll see what happens there.
We'll see what happens, yeah. All right, we're done with this Peacock conversation because I guess we had to introduce why you just heard a loud bang if you listen to the audio. And obviously if you're watching the podcast, while you just saw the Peacock fall down there. Okay, on this episode of Suits and Takes, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. I mean, obviously, as you could see, Joe Birdsall's not here joining with us today. But doesn't stop us from talking about sports. I know he wants to really get into the draft, which is a week from today, actually. But for now, let's just talk about NBA basketball, playoff basketball. And I gotta say, playoff basketball, man, has been on fire as of late.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier in a text conversation we had. My bad. This is probably the most parity we've seen in a while in terms of not just the NBA, I think NBA playoffs specifically, because, people say, oh, this is the most parity. Like, I think we had an episode a while back where it's like, it's no longer big threes, it's big duos.
Dynamic duos, yeah.
Yeah, the dynamic duos. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that was kind of the case, but you still kind of had like those few teams that you thought like, I think that the year immediately following that the Lakers won, and it wasn't like that exciting. Many people didn't feel like it was that much parity because, they were the odds-on favorite to win. And,
the bubble. Lakers won.
Yeah, we don't talk. If you want to do the little Mickey thing, we get into that another episode. It's fine.
Mickey and A. Disney.
Yeah, so always doubtful, but we have to. I think look at it from this year. We have Kawhi and Paul George not really being in the playoffs in the West.
Well, because they were hurt, but yeah.
LeBron James, Anthony Davis not being in the playoffs in the West. Kyrie and Kevin Durant kind of
maybe potentially not in the playoffs currently.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But they're kind of no-showing right now. They're 7th. Even if they do manage to make this a series, they're currently a 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean, you look at the top, you have guys like, Giannis in the East, stud. But then you have like guys like Tyrese Maxey showing out. You have guys like Jordan Poole showing out. Ja Morant's been showing out all year. And you see like these new guys. Like, are we seeing like a new rise of talent in the NBA? Culminating in just the first round of the playoffs so far. It's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's almost like the passing of the torch in a way. You see guys like Jordan Poole going crazy, as you just mentioned. Tyrese Maxey going crazy. It's been extremely exciting to watch. I mean, even the series that, look, you go look at Philadelphia, who are currently up 3-0. Last night's game goes into overtime. Joel hits that fadeaway 3 to win the game, and you're like, damn, this is exciting. It's 3-0. This is exciting basketball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you even have the series that are 2-0, like by Boston Celtics beating down on your Brooklyn Nets. Mm-hmm. Two great games that go down to the final couple minutes of those games that either way could have landed.
And we look back into the West, you have a team like Minnesota, a young, hungry team. Guys like Anthony Edwards kind of showing that they belong in this league. They're legitimate players, star potential players. And, it's exciting to see. You even saw with teams that are like younger on the rise. Cleveland didn't make it. They made it into the play-in game. You didn't get the end result that you wanted, but guys like Darius Garland are showing out, first-time All-Star. Jared Allen, first-time All-Star. It's like you see a lot of young guys coming out, and then you see, like I mentioned, a lot of the older guys, the older guard. I mean, James Harden, I know I'm biased. I don't like James Harden, but he's been kind of looking like a shell of his former self. I mean, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid have been carrying the load for that Philadelphia 76ers team. I mean, other guys I mentioned, Kawhi injured, LeBron and AD didn't get the job done this year. Kevin Durant and Kyrie are potentially getting bounced in the first round of the playoffs to, Jason Tatum, who's making it clear that he's a top 10 player in the NBA, potential MVP candidate moving forward. And I've been saying, as a Nets fan, I've been saying this guy's legit. So it's, passing the torch, like you mentioned, it's kind of interesting to see. It's funny how it's all happening, like right now.
I mean, yeah, you go down the list, even on East and West Coast, it's a lot of young guys who are really carrying the load for these playoff teams. But I think the best way to go forward in this conversation is to really talk about each individual matchup. And I know there's one matchup, obviously, we both want to talk about. I don't know if you would rather start with that or end with that. Because I'm ending your life no matter what.
We can start with it. I mean, I think,
No, you know what? Let's start with it. So, remember I went on this podcast a couple months ago, even, and remember we were like, "Are the Boston Celtics dead?" This, I think, before the energy changed, because the energy was about to shift, as Jaylen Brown said, and you came on, and it was Carmine on as well, and you guys were just bashing the Boston Celtics. Oh, it's the death of the Boston Celtics. They don't make any moves. They don't have Kawhi. They don't have Butler. They don't have Paul George. They didn't trade Jaylen Brown. They folded with Kyrie. They folded with Kemba. Can you have any comments now? Do you have any comments being down 2-0? Got to go back to Brooklyn, who has no home support, so it's another home game for the Boston Celtics. Do you have anything to say right now, Anthony?
I didn't know.
Because I have a lot to say right now, so I just want to know if you want to start.
It's kind of funny. I didn't know winning the first round equated to, hosting the finals trophy. I mean, let's put this in perspective, right? Let's put this in perspective.
It's in perspective. Yep.
What seed did the Celtics finish this season?
They were a 2 seed.
They were a 2 seed. Okay.
Yes.
You're telling me you finally reach your potential as a team. We have Jason Tatum, who I've said top 10 potential in the NBA. Mm-hmm. We have Jaylen Brown, who I think is one of the best two-way players in the NBA. And I said that on record. Mm-hmm. I said Marcus Smart's very underrated. He's a glue guy, solid guy for that team. And I said Robert Williams was a great young player on that team.
Yep.
All those guys proved to be true. You finally get a good coach. You play to your potential.
I don't know about finally get a good coach, but continue.
You have a coach. I think this roster right now is playing better than any Brad Stevens team.
I don't know about that.
Statistically, they are.
Yeah, but the Boston Celtics, when they had IT, Marcus Morris, Al Horford, it was basically a similar team with this minus. You add IT, you add Marcus Morris. That was a dirty team. The Boston Celtics, I would go up against.
It was
anyone
a dirty team, but statistically, this team is more efficient, better defensively.
Top
better
5
defensively.
team in both offense and defense. It's very hard to come by.
I think 60% of teams that are this efficient on both sides of the ball end up winning the championship.
Yeah.
So I think you are reaching your potential, but let's not get it twisted. It's been 2 games in the NBA playoffs. A lot can happen. We've seen 3-1 leads get blown several times. First, second, third, finals, whatever round. Mm-hmm. Things happen. You are still playing 2 of the best players on the planet, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That being said, if you sweep us, you still got to go through, potentially Philly.
Well, you got to go through Milwaukee.
Got to go through Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, Chicago winner.
Yeah.
And you go on to play the winner of the next round, which is probably going to be between Miami and Philly.
Yeah. So,
and I've said this in before podcasts because we didn't record before the postseason on us. Shame on us. Mm-hmm. I said Boston has the hardest road to the finals.
They do have a hard road to the finals.
Especially as a 2 seed.
Don't consider
this might be the hardest 2-7 matchup in NBA history.
100%. But don't consider a first round win as, the equivalent of winning the NBA finals.
Yeah, but this was a huge hurdle to get over for the Celtics.
100%.
team.
But
this is a huge hurdle.
If you're, I'm not saying you're a casual fan, but I'm saying, like, if you're a casual NBA fan, and you see this matchup on paper and you say, oh my God, the Nets are the 7th seed.
Yeah.
They deserve to be the 7th seed. They played like a 7th seed all year. They've been underachieving. People are saying, oh, Kevin Durant's been injured. Kyrie, he hasn't been playing the whole vaccination status. James Harden, he gave up on the team. When this team was healthy on the floor, they did not look good. The only convincing wins they had all season was that 30-point win against the Chicago Bulls, and that was pretty much it.
And they had that win against Boston as well.
Yeah, that one win against Boston. I mean, aside from those big wins, they came out on top solely because of star power. You've seen that you saw the last year in the playoffs where Kevin Durant willed his team to a 7-game series. But we see now where a team actually plays competent defense against a guy who's a fantastic scorer. And what happens? He goes 0 for 10 in the second half.
I don't know if
he tries to shoot out of a funk, goes into double teams, and does not look for open players when Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, and Goran Dragic were having fantastic games. Goran Dragic looked like 2014 Suns Goran Dragic.
Bruce Brown started the game scoring every point.
Bruce Brown had 12 of the first 12 points of the NBA of the game.
Yeah.
They had, I think, 50 combined points between the three of them. They did not see the ball in the fourth quarter. Why? Because Kevin Durant was trying to shoot out of a funk, going into double teams, and just taking contested, ugly shots. And those shots usually go in for him. He should have known that those shots were not falling that night. He should have tried to ditch the ball out, work on your assist numbers. I was very disappointed in that, and that's just not a testament to poor play from Kevin Durant. It's poor play calling from Steve Nash. There is not if you watch that game, he single-handedly allows Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to play iso ball every single time, and they make a play, whether it's for themselves or for someone else. And, obviously 50% of the time, it works out in their favor because they're just that talented. But if you don't have a play drawn up on the floor, it's not going to work. And I don't know the coach's name. Say the coach's name.
Ime Udoka?
Yes.
I definitely, yeah, okay, continue.
Former Brooklyn Net coach, by the way, assistant coach. He outcoaches Steve Nash. He coaches circles around him, and the fact that the Nets should have won yesterday by 20 points. If we're being completely honest, they were up by 17. They should have been able to hold that lead. It should have been. If you watched that game, you would have think how it was like a 7-point game, but you would have thought it was a 20-point game by the way the Celtics were missing shots. But what happened? Brooklyn just was not making shots. They were not giving guys good looks. Even if guys had good looks, they weren't passing the ball. I'm very disappointed. Honestly, Steve Nash needs to go, and that's the root of all the problems. I'm blaming everything on Steve Nash.
So I think Kevin Durant last night faced the greatest defense played against him ever since he came to the NBA. I don't think it's an exaggeration. Every time, nice,
yeah.
Nice.
Sorry.
As the blender bottle just starts making noise for everyone listening to the audio.
Sorry.
Man, come on. I was in the middle of a great thought. Anyway, yeah, so Kevin Durant, anytime you got the ball, bam, double team. Oh, drive? Nope, you're not. Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, we'll throw everybody in your way. And not only that, when you're off the ball, too, we're going to beat you down and make it very impossible to get the ball.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what the Nets are doing. With Steve Nash at the helm, they run ISO or nothing. ISO or nothing. Give the ball to Kyrie, let him work. If he doesn't shoot the basketball, Kevin Durant will shoot the basketball. When both those guys get benched, you have Goran Dragic making plays. You have Bruce Brown making plays. It was actually interesting because I forget where it was I was watching it. Maybe ESPN, First Take, or one of them. They said, isn't it amazing how the Brooklyn Nets have no forward depth at all outside of Kevin Durant? Where's Blake Griffin? Doesn't play. Where's LaMarcus Aldridge?
LaMarcus Aldridge was casually scoring 20 points whenever he wanted, whenever he was playing. Yeah.
Where's LaMarcus Aldridge?
No idea.
You cut James Johnson.
Well, he wasn't good.
You have no forward depth. You're playing rookies on a team that is supposed to contend now.
That's not even the case because when the rookies play, they play well.
I understand.
Kessler Edwards got probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes yesterday.
But you need, at this point in the season, in the playoffs, you need veterans with playoff experience that know how to get there. They'll play maybe 5 minutes max, give you those valuable minutes so Kevin Durant can take a breather. Because Kevin Durant's going to go out there and play 40-plus minutes a night, especially now when you're down 0-2. He's going to have no time to take breaks.
I wouldn't even say that was the issue because I think, there was a time yesterday where I was yelling at Steve Nash to take Kevin Durant out of the game.
But that was different. That was because of his coaching. He wasn't getting Kevin Durant looks that he needed to score.
And that's poor coaching.
I understand that. But it's not the point to Kevin Durant out. It's more of Steve Nash, draw up a play. Well, put some shorts on and get in the game.
I think the big issue here is, and I called it out when it was happening, they were up by 15. And first thing I said is, okay.
17, continue.
Well, no, there was a point when they were up 15, 17, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said, why are they playing both of them at once? You stagger minutes. If you have two guys that fantastic on your roster, give a guy a break.
It's the issue that they have no depth. You look at the depth of the roster, it's all backup guards.
Yes, I know.
It's Goran Dragic. It's Seth Curry. You know who you need?
You know how frustrating it is to see the 3-guard death lineup that they have where it's like Goran Dragic, Seth Curry, and Bruce Brown getting significant minutes all at once?
You need Ben 10, baby.
But, okay, here's the issue, right? I would say that were the case if we were getting lit up by Tatum or Brown. Mm-hmm. Tatum or Brown had okay games yesterday.
They didn't play great, but in the fourth quarter, Brown did take over. And that's a point where you have Ben Simmons, because he's going to come in. He's got to D up one of the wings. It also lets Kevin Durant guard the other wing. And then right there, you're looking at, you're going to have to look to other players.
But yes, that solves an issue on one side of the court. But the issue yesterday, honestly, Brooklyn, even the announcers were saying it, that was probably the best defensive performance Brooklyn had since Kyrie and Kevin Durant came to Brooklyn. Being completely honest,
outside of that last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter where the Celtics won up big because they were shooting the lights out of the ball. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown would just get the ball bang, three-pointer.
Boston was not getting good looks. They were turning over the ball, but at the same rate, Brooklyn was too. Brooklyn was turning the ball over. Brooklyn was getting ugly looks, and Boston had tremendous defense, don't get me wrong, but it's if you're a good coach, you adjust. Boston adjusted to Brooklyn's defense. You saw in the last 5-10 minutes of the game. Brooklyn looked completely lost. Kevin Durant, I felt like he gave up on the team.
It was very interesting because I think that was one of the first times I saw that Kevin Durant looked very confused out there in the basketball court.
He looked lost. There was the one time where Grant Williams stole the ball from him, and I was like, oh, it hit it right off of Grant Williams. Grant Williams,
who had a perfect game. Perfect from field goal for the field, perfect from the 3-point line, perfect from the free throw line.
Yeah.
It's very interesting when you look at it because last year in the playoffs, you looked at the Nets team and you're like, wow. And that was a team that had Blake Griffin starting on it. You had Kyrie, but you also had James Harden. And I think that the move you made when you traded James Harden to bring in these guys, you need Ben Simmons to play on this team. But the only thing I have concerns about, and I already spoke to you about this, I spoke to a lot of people about it, you're down 2-0, right? You bring Ben Simmons into the lineup, a guy who hasn't played all year, let alone play for the Nets. He hasn't played, period. Is that a risk you're willing to take?
100%. I have been so disappointed in the performance that I've seen out of Brooklyn the last 2 games. I think, honestly, it was the thing is, right? I don't think Ben Simmons, like I said, Ben Simmons is not a solution, but I don't think he hurts bring him in.
I think at this point he is a solution to a lot of problems that the Brooklyn Nets have.
I think
specifically when you look at Ben Simmons and you bring him into the lineup, it's something that the Boston Celtics have to match up against. They haven't seen him all year. They don't know what he brings to the table. You don't know what he's been working on when he's been out. And again, defensively, he's huge. If you can have him guard up Tatum and you have someone else guard up, you got to guard up Tatum or Brown. One of those wings has to be D'd up.
Yeah.
Obviously, because when the one's not scoring, the other one tends to be scoring.
Yeah, I think we kind of went over it yesterday. He was like, well, you were like, well, what does he really bring? And I was like, I think we really forget how great of a player he was outside
defensively.
Of that. Outside of the one,
I don't think offensively you're saying he's a great player, but I do think he will give you solid minutes when you need to replace him for Kevin Durant. He is your backup. He is your backup wing currently. I don't know if he starts right off the bat, but he's your backup wing you need for Kevin Durant that can play make when KD and Kyrie sit out.
I think
the only issue, honestly, the Nets roster is probably perfect for Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
because he needs to play make. He'll pass it out to a Seth Curry, a Goran Dragic, a Bruce Brown for a three.
Yeah, that was the point
He's going to
make.
He's going to play LeBron James basketball. And that is something this Brooklyn Nets team needs, especially in the second unit, because you look at them, they have the backup for Andre Drummond, Nicholas Claxton. He could play some minutes there. You look at the backup guards. We already talked about it. You have Goran Dragic. You have Seth Curry. You have Bruce Brown.
Patty Mills.
Again, Patty Mills, another guard. Forwards, what do we have?
Kessler Edwards. That's it.
Exactly. You bring Ben Simmons off the bench now. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a very solid addition. Again, it might be too late because you're going game 4, and that's why this game 3 is huge.
Game 2 is huge. I said, honestly, I think I have very little hope that Brooklyn's going to win the series after losing 2 in a row.
So, but before going into it, I thought Brooklyn was going to win it.
Yeah.
I had no faith. I thought this Boston Celtics team was going to do a Boston Celtics classic and just say, oh, we have a lot of hype going into the playoffs. We're going to get bounced round 1. This might be another team that could, you know what, we're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, gets bounced, and then like Brad Stevens is like, oh, let's run it back with the same roster. It's like a Boston Celtics-ish move.
I know, but it's like, it's hard after this performance this year not to run it back compared to the other seasons.
I mean, it's again, we talk about this all the time on the podcast. The Boston Celtics are always in that next year is going to be our year. How many years has it been next year has been Boston's year?
No, this is their year this year, 100%.
Well, you look, I'm going to get into it, especially when we talk about the other series. Everyone's getting hurt.
A lot of people are getting hurt.
And everyone's getting hurt. And it's like, I understand it's like a cheap way to, it's like when the Toronto Raptors played the Warriors and they were just bones of what they were.
Yeah, but a ring's a ring.
Ring's a ring. No one's going to really remember. Everyone's going to remember that Kawhi Leonard just beat the Golden State Warriors.
Not that KD and Clay were both out.
Clay, DeMarcus, like the whole entire team was just
it was just Curry and Dre. Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. Moving forward, you think the Nets are going to pull this one out? Or you think it's done?
I think the Nets. I think best case they make it a 6-game series.
You think it's done though?
I think last night was the game they should have won. You're up by 17 points. And
I don't think it's over.
I think it's over.
I think it's going 7.
I hope you're right. I hope to God you're right. But hey, I mean the Nets lost to the Bucks last year. I think they're up 2-0. So,
I don't know. Especially if Ben Simmons plays, which is why Game 3 is gonna be huge. Because if Boston gets that 3-0 lead, I think it's done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think if Boston's able to get if Brooklyn's able to sneak a game out, see if Ben Simmons can potentially come back, I could see it being tied up 2-2, and once you get to that point, it's a whole new ball game.
I mean,
which is why 3-0 compared to 2-1 is a complete game changer.
I mean, hopefully they have the game either earlier in the day or later in the day, so either Kyrie's not on like a full empty stomach too.
I think it's still I think it's 7:30 or 7:00 Saturday night.
Maybe hopefully the sun sets earlier.
I might have to go. We didn't even talk about Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. I've been preaching that for years now. I had the Marcus Smart jersey on, but it's huge news for the Boston Celtics. Huge news for Marcus Smart. The guy is the best defensive player in the league, and finally gets the recognition for it.
I mean, props to him. First guard since Gary Payton. What was that, like 96 or something like that?
It was a decent time.
Yeah,
a decent while.
Yeah,
but
good for him. Props to him.
These wing defenders are getting their credit. Mikal Bridges got his credit. He finished as a finalist.
Yeah, I mean,
they're getting they should. They have to guard it because now it's a different league. Obviously, defensive stats tend to favor towards big men because they're just huge. But you got these young guards, the wings, that got to D up against some of the best wing scorers in the league.
And I think a lot of guys who were, defensive big men like Rudy Gobert, stereotypical, shot blocker. He's getting a lot of crap lately. Saying he's a very one-dimensional big. He can't do anything else. He slows down the offense.
Because he's not an exciting big. Look at what Jokic does, and look what Embiid does. Embiid last night hitting the threes to tie and win games. You're not going to get that at Gobert. That's not his game.
I know,
but that's something that gets.
He's getting paid like one, and that's an issue that
he finishes his top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting every year.
Yeah, I know,
if he doesn't win it.
I mean, we can kind of guess. I don't know if we want to pivot into this series necessarily, but I feel like the Utah Jazz team is a team that comes up every single year, just coming up short. And it's they're coming up short, not going into the Western Conference Finals, first round eliminations that they're facing here.
Especially, it's interesting because they're tied 1-1 right now. The Dallas Mavericks.
But-
Dallas does not have Luka Doncic playing.
And he might play not this game, but the following game if
We'll see.
if he
I
gets
feel
cleared.
like all these injuries, again, he's one of the guys on the all-injury team that you look at the playoffs and it's just a huge list. D-Book, Chris Middleton. Guys are like, oh, they'll be back a couple games. And then it's like, oh, by the way, Chris Middleton out for the whole first round. Devin Booker out 2 to 3 weeks.
Potentially 2 rounds, yeah.
So it's like, well, it's interesting because the way the bracket is, I believe game 2, second series starts like the first week in May.
Okay.
So you have like 10 days in between now and then like a would-be game 7. But I think all the series will wait until after the first round's done just to keep it all on like the same pace. But again, you look at it, the Utah Jazz, they're going up against the Dallas Mavericks. If they win, they'll play against the winner of the Phoenix New Orleans game, the series. New Orleans, Brandon Ingram went crazy to tie up that series. Again, Devin Booker is out. So you have a Chris Paul-led team. Again, they have Aiden, they have Bridges, they have a number of other players in that team that can make buckets.
They're a deep team, deep squad.
They are. Jay Crowder, my boy Jay Crowder.
Yeah. It's just hard though because Devin Booker, people were trying to throw into the MVP conversation, kind of stupidly, but he's that kind of guy. Top 10 guy in the NBA. It's kind of hard to say like, oh, a team's going to win a series at their best player because he probably is their best player.
D-Book, yeah, I would say. I mean, some were saying he should have won MVP.
Yeah, I said stupidly. I think it was a stupid argument. He's not in the conversation, but
I don't know. It's interesting. I still have Phoenix winning that series against the Pelicans.
It's hard to, think
it's just Chris Paul brings so much veteran experience, and this Pelican team's good.
They are.
They're very. Imagine if they had Zion.
I was going to say they don't have Zion.
They're good.
I mean, McCollum kind of brings that veteran leadership.
And McCollum was a trade at the time I wasn't a huge fan of for the Pelicans.
I wasn't a fan of
I didn't know if there was going to be the make or break for them making the playoffs. But,
I mean, in
McCollum's always a guy that shows up in the playoffs, though.
I think he hasn't missed the playoffs in, like, how long? I think Portland made it every single year he's on the team. Or is that wrong?
I don't believe that's.
Or am I getting him? Or is that a Pat Beverly stat? I'm getting confused.
That is a Pat Beverly stat, yes. Because I don't know if Portland has made it.
But, regardless, I don't think they ended up giving him that much for him. I think Portland kind of lost that trade, in my opinion. I feel like they kind of undervalued Colin, but it's whatever. No, but he kind of brings that veteran leadership to the team. Brandon Ingram's a dog. So it's, they have some pieces. They have some guys. So, Jonas Valanciunas, another dog. Low-key sleeper. Fantasy beast.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Pelicans team, they're good, but I have the Suns winning it. I think Chris Paul, I think they have so much veteran leadership. They have great coaching. And New Orleans is just too young, I feel like. I don't know. It's something about them that, I feel like Brandon Ingram too, just randomly scoring the 40.
He's a streaky guy.
He was an all-star, and then he kind of just didn't make the all-star for a couple of years.
If Zion Williams are playing on this team right now. This guy needs to get healthy.
I don't know if he'll ever play in New Orleans again.
Really? That's a bold take.
I don't know if it's that bold.
It's a very bold take.
I don't know. I feel like...
Man played 40 games in New Orleans.
I would be surprised if he goes to New York next year. The 3 Dukies are back together. You got RJ, Cam, and Zion.
Yeah.
All back in New York.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It's the prophecy. Zion was stolen right out of Knicks fans.
It's a narrative.
He's coming back.
It's a narrative written by sports outlets just to have something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
the guy has to play.
Narrative.
The guy has to play. Let him play first.
I don't know. He's coming back. He's going to MSG, baby.
Such nonsense.
All right. Anyway, I think Phoenix is going to win that series. I'm not too scared about it.
Tied 1-1. That's fair.
Look at Dallas, Utah. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, if Luka comes back, I can easily see Dallas taking it. But it's
I think Utah's solid. Utah's a solid squad.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of rumblings there. I feel like there's some internal issues that they're dealing with.
I don't know. I just like Utah's roster better than Dallas's.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think Dallas was getting hot at the right time. Even without Luka, you kind of see that. Guys like Spencer Dinwiddie after the trade deadline have been playing very, very well. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, Utah's more. I think Utah is more talented right now than a Mavericks team without Luka. Mm-hmm. If Luka comes back, that could be a very entertaining series. But I don't know. I feel like Dallas can only go so far. It would take a complete implosion by from Utah for them not to win that series without Luka playing. In my opinion,
I don't know. Like the team, I feel like Dallas's team is really not built for the playoffs.
I mean, Jaylen Brunson's a guy.
Again, he's been that guy.
Yeah.
You also have like Luka, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. It's not like really anything that's like eye popping.
Davis Bertans, don't forget him.
Davis Bertans.
Davis,
okay.
Davis,
Continue.
Davis.
Yes, Davis. Maxi Kleber.
Dwight Powell, former Celtic.
Reggie Bullock.
Yeah, see, you got some.
Boban, Trey Burke.
Definitely some pieces. Definitely some
Frank Ntilikina, Marquise Chris.
Ooh,
Theo Pinson.
Frank the Tank. Oh, yeah, Theo Pinson. Honestly, the bench alone
Brandon Knight's on the roster.
I think the bench alone because of Theo Pinson might carry.
They do have a pretty fire bench. Any bench is Theo Pinson on it. It's
electric. Yeah, it's an electric bench.
So anyway, I think Utah's going to win this series.
Yeah, and I agree.
I just think Utah's a better team.
100%. They are better, but I'm saying like if Utah does not, why did I say that? If Utah does not pull this out, I think Donovan Mitchell might be on the move. He might be
Boston.
He might be on the block.
Think he's going to Boston?
No.
I mean, Utah. Remember, Utah is just like I feel like they choke. And I choked. They like face heartbreak every year for almost like no reason.
And I feel like he puts his heart and soul into that team, but it's like. The thing is, though, it's like he has guys around him.
That's the thing. The team on paper is good. It's a lot better on paper than his Dallas Mavericks team.
Does it get to the conversation where it's
him?
Is it him? Is Donovan Mitchell not that guy? Because we get into this conversation where it's like, oh,
it's every player. Yeah, but I feel like it's every time like your team loses in the playoffs. Like it's just not his time. Like Jason Tatum for years, even this past year, they were like, oh, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown don't work together, and now everyone's like, oh, they're one of the best teams in the East.
Yeah, but like until you prove otherwise, then that's the narrative. You have to prove doubters wrong.
It's gonna be the narrative for all these guys.
But it's like I feel like guys are like, it's like the issue I have. Like, oh, he's like a top 5 guy in the NBA, but like people say that for like 10, 15 different guys. It's like you really have to narrow this down.
It's like everyone's top 5 is different.
Yeah, and it's like I also think like
I don't think the top 5, honestly, if you want to go through it, is that hard to come up with.
It can be kind of hard.
I don't think so.
Who's in your top 5?
LeBron.
Okay.
Curry.
Okay.
But Durant.
Okay.
I put Kawhi.
All right.
And then I have an extra floater with Giannis.
No Jokic. No Embiid.
Who would you put over him?
I don't know. It's tough. But like,
all right, so Kawhi.
The five you mentioned. So
you drop Kawhi out and put Embiid because Kawhi's not playing.
But like, see, like the 5 you mentioned, right? What's the common theme between all 5 of them? They all have won. They all have rings. Right? And I think there's only a handful of guys in the NBA that you can say like, yeah, they're a definitive winner. If you have them on your team, your odds of winning a championship skyrocket.
It's just so hard to win a ring.
It is so hard,
especially when you have to play LeBron for 10 years. That has like almost every single final. Like LeBron and Curry have like every single finals win, and Kawhi, the 3 guys I put in my top 5 have almost every single finals win in the past decade.
Yeah, and you know it's kind of difficult to expect a team without one of those guys to win a championship. So it's like you only have so many people that are that guy, and it's like I don't think like a Donovan Mitchell, fantastic player, but it's like, is he really the number 1 option on a championship team, or is he a very good number 2 option on a championship team? Like, is he someone that needs to play with someone like Anthony Davis can't win a championship by himself. Anthony Davis wins when he joins LeBron. He's a great second option.
Garnett.
Yeah,
and then needed Pierce and Allen, and it's just they needed someone else to score.
Like Kyrie Irving.
It's like a play style type thing.
No,
Kyrie Irving is a guy that has to be. He's a second option. I think everyone around the league knows that.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any argument saying that Kyrie needs to be a second guy on a team. But I think there's an argument to be made about is Kevin Durant need to be a second guy on a championship team. He's never won a ring by himself. And he's only struggled in the playoffs when he hasn't had a guy like Curry, a guy like Clay, a guy like Draymond, a guy like Iggy on his team.
I want to say it's tough because you saw he made a finals as the best player on his team.
Yes.
He
also played with Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair to put that against him because you still need guys around you to win a championship.
I understand. Yeah. Okay. So continue.
And
he was just unlucky they had to play LeBron.
He was unlucky to play that Miami Heat LeBron, yes. I think choking that 3-1 lead against the Warriors was pretty bad.
Will go down as probably the biggest turn in his career ever.
Yes. And then I think last season in the playoffs, I think wasn't his fault either. I think he was the reason why they were even a relevant competent team last year.
They were pretty banged up. Yeah, I agree.
But, I think we're kind of having recency bias in terms of his few games this last few games of the playoffs. But it's like, if he goes on a tear, has a few revenge games, and he drops, 30, 40 points over the next 2-3 games, and they make it a 7-game series, makes it, competitive, we still have the narrative of it's not his fault. And I don't think the Brooklyn Nets situation right now is his fault. I think it's terrible coaching, which, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is his fault, because who put that coach there?
It's like a LeBron thing. Like when the coach, you blame the coach, it's like LeBron wanted the coach. LeBron's a GM.
But I'll say this.
Every player that plays for LeBron knows you're playing for LeBron.
I'll say this, and I said it immediately after the game. LeBron wouldn't have had the last 2 game performances that Kevin Durant had in the first round of the playoffs.
I would fully agree. We spoke to this about Carmine in the group chat.
Yeah.
He said that a LeBron James-led team in the East would be dominating this Boston Celtics squad.
Yes.
It's just because LeBron going to the West was probably one of the worst moves for his career.
Yes.
He won his ring. Yeah, he won the Mickey Mouse ring. But you're trying to tell me if he was on Cleveland, he wouldn't have made the finals? In that Eastern Conference where Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat made it? Think about it. He's getting bounced in the West when he's in the Eastern Conference. Imagine him being a 7 or 8 seed right now.
Yeah.
Going up against Boston, Miami.
Yeah.
We don't know. We honestly don't know what would have happened. And especially if he stayed in Cleveland, what they could have done with the salary cap and finagled some picks around and see what they could have definitely reloaded. But instead, he had to go to Los Angeles, make the wax Space Jam 2.
Off the court stuff. Yeah, I know.
And now it's like, at this point, I know he probably doesn't care because he's already cemented himself as one of the greatest player of all time.
Bold take.
I mean, it's either him or Jordan, right? At this point,
yeah.
And he's going to pass Kareem within the next 2 years, and that's probably what he's going to be playing for. He's going to play to pass Kareem. He's going to play one more season with his son, and then he's going to call it a quits.
Yeah.
And he's going to finish number 1 in scoring and have a bunch of rings and have a bunch of money, and then it's going to be like, okay, who's better, him or Jordan? But when you look at this, let's look past that and look at this playoffs. I don't know, man. You just look at it and you're like, Donovan Mitchell. We're all the way from Donovan Mitchell to LeBron James being one of the best players of all time. Isn't that interesting, though?
I mean, like the stream of consciousness there.
It just kept flowing because it was interesting because I was trying to go back. Like I was like, oh, LeBron, and then I was like,
what were we talking about?
I was like, we were talking about Donovan Mitchell, were we not?
Well, like, okay, let's put it in this perspective. There's always like that interesting series in the first round that's like, oh yeah, like this is fun to watch, but both teams do not have a chance of winning the finals.
And you think that's the series?
That's the series right now, 100%.
I think I can make the case for. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that is.
I would not make a case for either team winning. I think
What about this Memphis Timberwolves series? Would you make that case there? Because I think I can make the argument there too. I don't think because everyone's saying that Minnesota is going to be like the big upset of the playoffs because Memphis is a very young team. They overachieved and they're going to get bounced. But okay, let's say either Memphis or Minnesota wins the first round. I don't think either team gets past Golden State.
I think Golden State's the team to beat.
I think Golden State's the team to beat the whole entire bracket.
Yes.
On both sides. I think Golden State is my favorite currently to win the NBA Finals.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. I don't think it's interesting at all. You have Steph Curry, you have Jordan Poole, you have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond Green.
I mean, we could talk about Jordan Poole a little bit. Jordan Poole came out of nowhere.
Jordan Poole came out of nowhere to be one of the best shooters in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the best players in the playoffs.
I mean, just put it in perspective. Steph Curry's been a six man the last 2 games, and they haven't missed a beat.
Coming off injury, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay. They still have Andrew Wiggins, all-star starter Andrew Wiggins.
You have Otto Porter coming off the bench.
Andre Iguodala. Come on.
Iguodala. I mean,
this team, it's not a bad team.
It's a deep team.
And now
honestly,
they're like I talk about the Miami Heat being a great defensive team. Look at the Golden State Warriors. They got defense all around.
This is one of the deepest teams Steph has ever had. I mean, you've had Kevin Durant.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you had KD.
No. I mean, like that's about like I'm not saying most talented, but those Warriors teams very top heavy in terms of you
had some guys coming off the bench that were kind of.
I mean, Sean Livingston, absolute dog, the mid range assassin.
Kevon Looney, Jordan Bell.
Yeah. I mean, you still have Kevon Looney.
Yeah, Kevon Looney's like Golden State at heart. They got the jersey retired soon.
Yeah, I mean, you have Toscano Anderson. You have Gary Payne II. Like you have these are guys that are showing up.
Their bodies that play defense.
Yeah. I mean, they're having really good seasons this year in terms of how their
Kuminga's still there.
Careers are going. Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga.
James Wiseman hurt, but he's still there spiritually.
Yeah, spiritually, bench, more support.
bench presence is huge this time of year.
Hey, Ben Simmons bench presence. He showed up every game.
And the fits, they're fits. I don't know if you want to call them good fits, but they're
definitely fits. But
so let's talk about, let's go into this Golden State series, because I know we spoke about Phoenix. We both have Phoenix winning, correct? I have Utah winning. Do you have Utah winning as well, or do you want?
Yeah, I said if major issues for Utah in this offseason if they lose.
Okay, so I also have Golden State winning this series, because as obviously I just said, I had Golden State winning the whole entire bracket. Mm-hmm. Is that something you concur with, or is that?
No, I think they're definitely the team to beat in the West, especially if, these teams are facing injuries like they are. Like Devin Booker not being with the Suns. Like, yeah, Phoenix can win around, but it's like, how far can you go if...
It would be interesting because it's Phoenix against Utah next round. So it's always like, you think that Utah's a big pretender.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, oh, Phoenix doesn't have D-Book. So, and that should make it for an interesting series.
I mean, the argument could be made... And let's say if Utah wins and they lose next round to a team without Devin Booker, you can make the argument that they're still going to look to make some moves next season, because, how do you lose to a team with their best player?
I don't know. I don't think it matters, because the Warriors are running the table.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that you have like Jokic, who's going to win the MVP, and it's like, oh, he's down 2-0.
Yeah.
Everyone on Twitter is like, oh, like, haha, like, look at Embiid, he's up 3-0, like, doing all this stuff, and everyone's like, do you realize that Jokic is playing against Curry, Clay, Draymond, and that Jordan Poole just decided to be amazing?
I mean, and also Philly's playing without, Scottie Barnes isn't playing for Toronto. I mean, I know it's a 3-0 series, but it's like,
it's two completely different teams. It's the Warriors are great, and the Raptors were a team that
good.
But the Raptors are a team that the 76ers kind of tanked spots down to play Toronto.
I mean, also it's like they're a team that lacks a guy.
They're young.
They're young,
and they're Fred VanVleet, who made the All-Star game.
Yeah, but it's not a guy.
He's not the guy. That guy.
He's a guy, not that guy.
Yeah.
Clarify.
He's the third best player on the championship team. Maybe fourth best player on that championship team.
Yeah, Gasol, Kawhi,
Pascal Siakam,
and Lowry. Fifth best guy on that team.
I wouldn't say he was worse than Marcus Gasol, but okay.
Did they win the championship with Marcus Gasol?
I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah. Did they win the championship with Fred VanVleet?
Also a very interesting question.
Yeah.
He was kind of insane in that playoff run.
Let us know in the comments, wherever this is posted.
Let us know. I'll put a Spotify poll you can listen. All right, so let's go. I guess we'll move on to Memphis. Memphis.
So you really don't think Memphis is like all that?
I didn't say that. I said a lot of people say that. They say that because Minnesota's been on this tear.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's been like, okay, like they have Cat, they have D'Angelo Russell, they have Anthony Edwards. But you look at Memphis, they have Jaren Jackson, they have John Morant, they have Dylan Brooks, they have Desmond Bane, they have the list goes on and on. It's just like,
It's just
Steven Adams is on Memphis.
I mean, it's tough to be like, a team that performs so well. You have John Morant, MVP caliber type player this season, and just be like, yeah, they're gonna lose in the first round to a team that many people thought were just going to be like kind of a bottom feeder in the West. So I think it's props to Minnesota. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, especially the last month or so of basketball. But I don't know. I think it's saying a lot. It's kind of disrespectful to Ja to say, yeah, they're gonna drop in the first round to Minnesota. I think Memphis is gonna hold on to this.
I also agree that Memphis is going to hold on to this. I think Minnesota is going to be a team that's going to push this team this team to the edge. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota won the series, but I think Memphis has the better team, and they should win this series. So I'm going to go with Memphis winning this series, and they're going to go on to play Golden State in the next round.
In which it's going to be a dogfight.
I think Minnesota is making the turn that we saw that D'Angelo Russell had with the Brooklyn Nets. The time to like the culture is shifting, and again, it's hard because it's Minnesota. It's not Brooklyn. It's going to be hard to land a top-tier free agent in a place that not many people want to play in because it's not a great big market. But we see the change with the new ownership. Shout out A-Rod.
Yep.
Shout out Kevin Garnett. No, I actually met A-Rod.
Really?
Yeah. We're boys now.
How did he contribute to the culture change in Minnesota?
So it's interesting. So For those that don't understand the joke, I had the chance to speak with Alex Rodriguez, and I did ask him about how the new ownership, specifically him, was a catalyst for the change in culture. He didn't take credit for it. Very humble guy, very great guy. He did say he appreciates me being a big fan, so, shout at me, right? A big A-Rod enthusiast.
Big A-Rod guy.
A-Rod enthusiast. But
big fan.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Is how the conversation went. I just said, you know what? I was going to start by saying, A-Rod, big fan. He's like, thank you. I really appreciate that one. And I was like, I was starstruck for a second. I almost couldn't get the question out. But very humble guy, very great guy, and definitely a strong reason why that the energy is shifting in Minnesota. Again, I think they're very young. I don't think it's their time yet. I mean, you're looking at Anthony Edwards. He's a young guy. Cat, who's finally putting up crazy stats that heading into the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 6 or 7. I honestly wouldn't. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched up when it comes to just what is going on in terms of momentum. But in terms of roster and what they give you on paper, I think Memphis is really sneaky. I'm a huge fan of Steven Adams, and I just love it. I just think that they have him, they have Jaren Jackson, they have John Morant.
They've also been very well coached, and I think that kind of can take you, when a team is evenly matched, I think it just becomes like a chess match between the two coaches. And like going back to the Brooklyn game really quick, I think that's what we're seeing the Nets fail, that Steve Nash cannot outcoach Boston. But I think Memphis has the better coach in this situation. I think Memphis should prevail solely from the coaching perspective.
But that's what the thing is. I saw on Twitter, I forget who said it. It was like signing a great head coach in the offseason is arguably more important than signing a top free agent. Because what that coach gives you in terms of longevity, in terms of what your season really comes down to, it really makes a huge difference. And just going back to that, like the Steve Nash hate, how much blame can we put on Sean Marks for not really developing a bench, for not really developing a roster that's going to be good enough to play around KD and Kyrie?
Yeah.
Again, I talk about this forward depth. I think that's a serious issue that wasn't really addressed in the offseason. He kind of just brought LaMarcus Aldridge out of retirement and then kept Blake Griffin, and they were like, okay, we're good to run it back.
Yeah. I mean...
And then I just don't understand how Blake Griffin has no minutes.
I mean, going back to this, I can't explain either. I think LaMarcus Aldridge...
Man, started last year in the playoffs.
I think LaMarcus Aldridge not playing is a bigger travesty than anything, but, Sean Marks has been a fantastic, I'd say a top 3 GM in the NBA over the last 10 years, or however long he's been there. I think 10 years is about how long he's been there. I think is one of his biggest mistakes, outside of getting Allen Crabbe, was...
I mean, Allen Crabbe wasn't a mistake. It was one of those things that you took a couple picks to bring out a big contract.
Yeah, it was a bad move. But it was... I think hiring hiring Steve Nash is probably one of the worst moves he's made, and I think it sucks that how impactful that bad move has been for the team, because you're in a win now mode. Yes, you have Kevin Durant locked up. You don't have Kyrie locked up. What's going to happen the next few years? You're in a win now mode. You need to win before Kevin Durant is out of his prime and becomes, a has-been.
Well, the thing is, the reason why you hired Steve Nash is to keep Kevin Durant and Kyrie happy.
Yeah,
and we spoke about this in podcasts before. It's like it's one of those things that you have to play defense for your star players, or else they're going to dip. And then Carmine, I think, made the argument like, "Oh, baseball's not like that," and I was like, "All right, relax."
Yeah, baseball's a dying sport.
But you have like
baseball's a dying sport. Okay?
You have like the NBA's in the sense that your star players are not happy. You get to that contract year, a couple years before contract year, and I think the NFL's turning into that too. You see all these wide receivers asking out. It's come to the point that you don't play defense on your own team, they're gonna want out.
Yeah.
So you're not only trying to build a roster that can compete with the other teams in the league, you're also trying to build a roster that
doesn't implode on itself.
Yeah, and a staff around you so that your roster doesn't implode before the season even gets started.
And I think basketball is the hardest in terms of having to play defense, because one guy can make or break your entire roster.
Agreed.
Like Kevin Durant leaves the Nets, they're not a playoff team.
Well, you look at a guy like Giannis. Let's say Giannis gets bounced the first round of the playoffs, hypothetically, and he's like, you know what? I want out.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks go from here to all the way down here.
Yeah, like an 8th seed at best.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what one singular guy could really do for the roster.
Imagine the haul for Giannis.
But that's when he was like, before he signed, it was like that he was going to be the guy when he hits free agency.
Bro, I can't even imagine.
He would have had like a LeBron James type thing.
What would you have to offer to get Giannis? You have to offer like every single first round pick for the next 10 years.
It would be a huge load.
I don't think anyone has enough to give an offer that's worth what he's worth.
I mean, I'm sure they would work it out. Come to the point that you would have to settle. You would have to settle.
But like I'm saying, like if
you would have to give like first round picks galore. You would have to give young players
every single one you had.
I mean, there's a rule that you can't trade back to back, so it's obviously that's where you
trade swaps, pick swaps, whatever. But
yeah, highly like lowly protected picks.
Yeah,
that are then you could just kind of just build on that. But Giannis is not going to be moved. So
I know. I'm just hypothetically.
Let's just move on. But we can talk about Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks if you want to talk. Chris Middleton out for the series. They're playing Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls just tied up the series. Now going back to Chicago. It's the tide's turning. Maybe it's the tide turning. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm an avid hypocrite of Chris Middleton on this podcast. I think, is Chris Middleton a fine player? Yeah, of course he is. Talented player, all-star caliber player.
Ring.
He does have a ring. Yeah, I cannot.
He has more rings than both of us combined.
Yeah, he does. That is fact. I know, but is he like a legitimate number 2 option for a championship caliber team? I mean, yes, we saw that last year. Is it stupid of me to say like I'm not sold that he's a fantastic number 2 option for a championship team?
I think he's solid. I think he's really. I was a big hater of Chris Middleton. I think he's kind of cemented himself.
He proved you wrong.
I think.
Do you think not having Chris Middleton like
it's gonna make or break the series? Yes.
For me personally, I thought they were coming out of the East. Before that injury.
I did not. I think Miami's coming out of the East.
I think Miami's a bunch of phonies.
I highly disagree with that. I think Miami is the best defensive team on paper. I think they also have a lot of guys around them that can make baskets. I think they also have the leadership. I think when you look at a championship roster, I think they have every aspect that you need.
But do they have a guy?
They have experience.
They don't have that guy. They don't have the guy.
I think they have a couple guys that can make big time shots, and they have great defense, and that's all.
Do they have a couple guys that make big time shots?
I mean, Tyler Hero can make shots.
If Tyler Hero is your go-to guy,
Jimmy Butler is a guy. Butler is a guy that has that clutch G.
I don't know if he's a guy.
I think they also have the defense. We want to talk about defense. Look at Bam Adebayo. They have PJ Tucker. They have Jimmy Butler. They have Kyle Lowry. I can go on. And they have shooting. They have Duncan Robinson. They have Max Strus. They have Tyler Hero. Come on.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna talk about.
They're a great regular season team.
We still have to talk about a couple of these series. We just finished the West. We finished the Boston Celtics. Let's go. Milwaukee, Chicago. I think Chris Middleton being out is huge for the Chicago Bulls. And I think Paulo, when we spoke to him this morning, I sent him a text. I was like, "Oh, Chris Middleton's out." He's like, "This is huge," and I was like, "Yeah, I know."
It is huge. And
you look at DeMar DeRozan completely took over. He said, "You know what? I'm not gonna have a game 1 like I did the other game."
Yeah, and he's a guy known for choking in the playoffs. I mean, you saw all these Toronto teams that he was on. Like they said, he was the reason why they get rid of him. They win a championship with Kawhi.
Yeah. How do you think that feels?
I'm sure he's very salty
back
about
in the East
it.
For the first time in a very long time, and you know what? He's gonna run the table. And I think that Giannis and the Bucks should be a little concerned about the Chicago Bulls team because you know what? When the Chicago Bulls get hot, you want to get out of the way. You know what they do? You mess with the bull, you get the horn.
Yeah, I know. It's running the Bulls right now. He's out there. You
better run or you
get out of the way or get trampled at this point.
I know at this point. But honestly, in all seriousness, Chris Middleton.
Those are some awful puns.
No, it was bad. It was bad. You can skip forward a little bit. But in all seriousness, this is a huge break for the Chicago Bulls.
100%. They were at one point the best team in the East. And they fell off. They kind of cooled off. But it's like, what better time to get hot again than right now where there's an opportunity to take advantage of. And, they pulled out a game last night. Who's to say they can't pull out another, 3?
The thing is, like, Giannis is that guy.
And who guards Giannis? Like, legitimately.
Patrick Williams. You got Caruso. You got a couple of defensive guys in the Chicago Bulls. But I don't, like, without Chris Middleton for the whole series, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago wins here. I honestly wouldn't.
The issue is, right, it's Giannis has to have a perfect series to pull this out.
Drew Holiday is one of the best two-way players in the NBA.
He is. But he's like
They have a lot of guys. They have guys that can make shots.
If I have issues with Chris Middleton being your second best player, I'm definitely having issues with Drew Holiday being your second best player. He's a guy. He's a great player, former All-Star, all defensive caliber player, but he does not give you what Chris Middleton gives you on the offensive end.
Just shooting wise, I think Chris Middleton, when he's hot, he's hot.
He's hot, and like there are times where if Giannis were to have a bad game and Chris Middleton could kick up and kind of make up the difference, you're not getting that from Drew Holiday. So Giannis needs to be on his absolute A game for the rest of the series for the Bucks to win.
I would agree, and that's why I think the Chicago Bulls are going to win the series. I think Chris Middleton's going to be an X factor for the series being over. I think Chicago and DeMar DeRozan and the roster that they've built on that team is just really talented. And I'm going to get a lot of heat because it's like the Bucks are done, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago wins the series. And I think Chicago moving forward is going to win this series.
Giannis is that guy. I will bet the house on Giannis if I had to after what happened last year. Giannis pulls through. Giannis in 7. Not Bucks, Giannis.
Bucks in 6. That was the big postseason line last year. But I think Chicago has an edge here.
100%.
I think without Chris Middleton, it's going to be tough. And I think Chicago has a really, really solid team. We forget this was a Chicago team that was a top 4 seed in the East going into the All-Star break. They had a little bit of a slide, and it would just be It was funny because someone said the basketball gods are real. Because this was a Milwaukee Bucks team that tanked. Like, all these teams tanked because everyone tried to duck Brooklyn. And now it's like, Chris Middleton got hurt. And now it's like, how great would the basketball gods be if the Chicago Bulls were able to beat the Milwaukee Bucks?
The funny thing is, I think almost every single, top seed were like, I want to play Chicago because of how they've been playing recently. Because, I think they were a 5th seed, but they weren't playing like a 5th seed.
It was definitely the team you wanted to play in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Especially because you didn't know what to do with the play-in. Mm-hmm. You were potentially playing, like, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You were playing Atlanta now. And it's just like, I don't want to play either one of those teams. So you know what? I'm just going to go for that 3 seed and play a guaranteed Chicago Bulls, which at the time is a smart idea. Because you know what? If I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm going into the next round, I want to play Chicago. Yeah. I don't want to play Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping as a Celtics fan that Chicago can beat off of Milwaukee and then they can just keep going. Obviously get stopped by the Celtics, but you take off Milwaukee out of the bracket. It's easier road to the finals. I don't have to play KD and Giannis. I only have to play KD and DeMar DeRozan.
Bro, having to play KD and Giannis back to back that's brutal.
Well, I was going to say, it's going to be, if the Celtics, the ideal matchup would be you play KD first round, you play Giannis second round, you play that Miami Heat team third round, and the championship you play whoever makes out of the West. It'd be the hardest pass ever. It'd be like one of the hardest paths to an NBA championship ever.
3 first ballot Hall of Famers on the path to a ring. Probably more.
Jimmy Butler 4. Kyle Lowry. Is Kyle Lowry an All-Star?
Oh, Kyle Lowry.
Hall of Famer?
Yeah, Kyle Lowry probably the Hall of Famer, yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway, I'm having Chicago win the series.
I have Milwaukee.
All right.
I'm not betting against Giannis.
We think Philly blows a 3-0 lead?
Nah, Philly has that in the bag.
Is there much to say besides Joel Embiid's one of the best players in the world?
That's fair. I hate James Harden.
And Toronto overachieved. Is that another 2?
I mean, they're missing Scotty Barnes. I don't think many people thought this was going to be a crazy series anyway. I think people had Philly coming out of this. Toronto put up a good game last night.
I honestly have to correct myself because this was the team that everyone wanted to play in the playoffs.
You think so?
I definitely think so. I think people would rather play this team than Chicago because I think Chicago showed signs of being a top 4 team in the East. Toronto has not.
I mean, Toronto, like I said, they do not have a guy that can take over. I think Scotty Barnes can be that guy.
Well, you have Pascal Siakam, who towards the second half of the season, he was making a case for the All-Star game. When he didn't get picked for the All-Star game, he was kind of lighting up the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet, a guy who was an All-Star. You have obviously Nick Nurse, who is one of the best coaches in the NBA currently. And it's just interesting because now you're going up against Philadelphia, who a lot of people didn't know what to expect. Obviously with James Harden, Joel Embiid, having the second half of the season together. I think people are kind of like surprised. 3-0, I wasn't expecting a 3-0
I thought it'd be like,
a lot of people thought that this Toronto team could be potentially a team that upsets Philadelphia first round, especially when you look at the vaccine mandates in Toronto that would have made it difficult for a lot of teams to go up there and compete because a lot of players can't play, obviously, because of the different mandates. I thought Philadelphia was going to win this series. I wasn't expecting a 3-0. I would be very surprised by a 4-0 sweep. Maybe the little gentleman's sweep. You get the 4-1. But I'm not surprised. I think Philly's going to win this series.
Yeah,
obviously it's a cop-out answer because they're on 3-0.
I'm not betting 3-0. Bro, I would love nothing more for them to blow a 3-0 lead.
I would love to see Joel Embiid cry as well, just because it's so funny for the memes.
Yeah.
Just when he got beat by Toronto, and that's what everyone's like. Oh, Joel Embiid's getting his revenge. I was like, all right, face Kawhi Leonard and then come talk to me. You're playing like a team without Kawhi Leonard.
You're playing a team with their best players, a 19-year-old. Relax.
I wouldn't say that. Pascal Siakam's are probably Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam are both solid players.
Scotty Barnes.
And arguably either one of those.
Is a dog.
No, but it's either Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam are the best player on the team.
You want to say Scotty Barnes?
I don't think he's better than Fred VanVleet.
Rookie of the year? Scotty Barnes?
He's better than Fred VanVleet. I don't think Scotty Barnes is the rookie of the year.
Ooh.
Evan Mobley?
Nah, I think Scotty Barnes has it in the bag.
All right. I'm saying a guy that barely wins rookie of the year is not the best player on his team.
I don't know about that.
Anyway,
We'll see.
winning. Let's move on to Miami, Atlanta. Miami up 2-0.
Miami's winning the series.
Well, I mean, for me, it's a spoil. I already spoiled it because I think Miami's going to run the table and go all the way.
They're not.
Okay.
I have no faith in them.
Who's beating them? You have them.
If Chris Middleton comes back, Milwaukee's better than them.
I don't think Milwaukee's making it out of their side of the East.
I think Boston can beat them.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Boston's as good.
If Robert Williams comes back, I think they have a chance.
Boston is as good defensively, and they're better offensively.
I don't know, man. I think Miami's tough. A lot of people think they're pretenders. I think they're really contenders.
If Jason Tatum goes off and scores 40, who on Miami can match his output?
Miami just has a lot of players that, like, especially on that bench. Like, you have Duncan Robinson. You have Tyler Hero. This year. You have Max Strauss.
Tyler Hero's a guy.
You have guys that, like, I feel like Max Strauss is going to have games in the playoffs where he's just going to drop like 25, 30 points.
Yeah, but you have guys like Peyton Pritchard who scored 10 points last night.
Yeah, but Peyton Pritchard's not a guy that's going to come in and score like 30 points.
You had 11 guys last night score 10 points, I think it was.
Miami's good. Miami, I think everyone's underestimating how good Miami is.
I don't think they're that good. I think
there's a reason why they're a 1 seed. It's because they are the team to beat in the East.
I don't put faith in teams that don't have a guy I think can make it to the finals.
Jimmy Butler this team made the finals before.
If we're saying LeBron has a Mickey ring, then we can't give any credit to Jimmy Butler. We have to keep that same energy for both sides. Consistency.
So you don't count Anthony Davis's ring? Like, if Anthony Davis was in the playoffs right now, would you say Anthony Davis had championship experience?
I am personally not.
No, that wasn't the question. It was a yes or no. Was it yes or no?
I would say yes.
Yeah, okay. There's my argument.
I would say, but I'm not.
Would you like to elaborate on your decision?
Because I feel like a lot of people bash the bubble.
Yes.
But I think we can't just ignore the fact that I think the Lakers only lost 1 game the entire stretch of the playoffs in the bubble. And, Jimmy Butler did have a fantastic performance. But it's like, I don't know.
All right, so let's just go down our bracket here. So we have Miami beating Atlanta. I would love to see Atlanta beat Miami up.
Yeah, I would too.
I just don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on with this team. A team that made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. It's like, what is going on here?
It's just Trae Young and no one else. That's how it feels like.
It does feel like that.
And Trae Young is
off. They have a roster.
I mean, DeAndre Hunter had a good game the other day too.
And I'm very interested. I'm very excited to watch this next game, which is on tomorrow night. We got tomorrow at 7:00 tip.
I feel like the spacing of these games is just so awkward, so weird.
Yeah, I know. It's annoying.
Like you give like Brooklyn and Boston.
Tonight you have Dallas against Utah. You have Golden State against Denver, and then you have the Memphis and Minnesota game that just tipped off a couple minutes ago.
Like the Nets Celtics had 2 games in between each game, and the Sixers had 1 game rest for 1 game. Obviously I'm not like, I have no dog in the race or hat in the race.
Well, the Sixers are the only team that played 3 games so far.
What's the saying? Horse in the race? I have no horse in the race?
You have a horse or a pony in the race? Yeah.
Pony in the race? Yeah, I have no pony in the race, but it's like, if I'm a
That was like the NFL playoffs when I made the line, like, I had 3 horses in the race because I wanted Arizona, Green Bay, or Tom Brady, and all 3 were just, I was like 3 horses in one side of the bracket, and it was like, okay, never mind. I agree. So let's go Miami. Philly would be the second round matchup. I have Chicago. You have Milwaukee going up against. You have Boston. I have Boston as well. Wait. I do have Boston. I think Boston's going to pull it out. So we have Phoenix, Utah, Golden State, Memphis.
Yeah.
So the only upset we really have is Utah, and I have Chicago.
Well, you have Chicago. I have Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You have Utah's really an upset.
I mean, it's a 5 beating a 4.
I think it would be an upset if, honestly, like, yeah, the seedings say that. I think it's an upset if Dallas wins. In terms, if without Luka.
Yeah. I mean, if Luka comes back, then it's like, all right, whatever.
It's whatever. But it's like, if Luka doesn't play the rest of the series and Dallas wins, that's embarrassing for Utah.
The thing is, like, yeah, I'm going back to this Boston series because I'm still like on cloud 9 after the 2-0 win. I'm still not comfortable. I'm very terrified of the Brooklyn Nets. I will not believe that the Brooklyn Nets are dead until KD's walking out of the tunnel, Kyrie's tears in his eyes, probably flipping off a couple fans, and Deuce Tatum's dancing. Like, that's all. That's what I need to solidify a Boston Celtics.
Not Deuce.
The thing is, like, it's gonna be like, oh, like a huge W if they move on to the next round. It's like, that's round 1. Like, what do we have next? Like, it's gonna be an uphill climb, and I'm not crazy excited for it.
Hey, I mean, we got to see. I hope those fears you have, materialize.
It's not a fear. I'm like terrified.
Yeah, I hope they materialize. I hope they become real.
Because I know I'm gonna have
Boston fans need some humbling. That's all I know.
Kevin Durant's gonna have a Slim Reaper game, or like Kyrie's gonna drop like 50 something points. They're gonna win a game, and everyone's gonna be like, the Nets are back. The Nets are back, and then they're gonna win another game, and it's gonna be like, okay, I've seen this picture before with LeBron James, Eastern Conference Finals. I thought it was like, oh, the Celtics, we're going all the way. Like, we have IT was God. And then LeBron James said, you know what, let me shut that down.
Yeah.
That game 7, probably, the biggest roller coaster of emotions of all time. Jason Tatum just dunking on LeBron James' head. LeBron sending Boston home. That was
a brutal game. I remember that. That was rough.
I mean, I still have tears rolling down my face, I think. Dried up tears from that game.
You notice this little gnome guy is kind of caked up? Why did they do that to him?
Anyway, that's episode 73 of Suits and Takes. I think that's where you end the...
Sorry, I got a little mesmerized there. Sorry.
I don't know. Rate the studio setup, though. The little peacock that...
Yeah.
Unfortunately...
You can see the visual. You can see my tasteful shorts on right now. I can see some upper thigh action.
I guess you can see the ball. You can see the Marcus Smart jersey on the cam. Honestly, the setup's kind of... We're really getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there, you know.
Some people say, we're big... When you go big time, right? Big Time Rush said that one time.
Yeah.
When you go
big time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, I just put this. I gotta take the gnome away from you, bro. Anyway, let's plug the. I think I'm done. I'm done. I gotta go watch some playoff basketball after that comment. Anyway, let's plug the socials. Obviously, at Suits and Takes, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow us at Suits and Takes wherever you have social media. We're probably on there. Suitsandtakes.com. There's some articles on there. A little bit outdated, but just give a couple clicks to the boys. Support them. Obviously, the link tree and all our bios on the social medias will give you everything you need to listen to, watch, read, buy. Anything you guys do to help the podcast, we really appreciate that. Once again, my name is Domenico Concoli. This is Anthony Concoli, and this has been episode 73 of Suits and Takes. We hope you enjoy.
Peace.
And I'm going to cue the song right now.